I, 23F, have been with my husband, 27 male, for almost 3 years. We eloped and almost immediately were expecting. We were both very excited and everything was perfect until the baby came. Our daughter is 1 now. For the entire first year of her life, he came home from work, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., every day and immediately took a nap that ranged from 2 to 4 hours long. On his days off, he insisted that I get up with her while he slept in, and when he did finally get up, he gamed until he was ready for his daily nap. The household chores started piling up because I was caring for our daughter full-time and working from home nearly 60 hours a week. I expressed feeling like I was doing everything on my own and I needed help with the household chores or for him to watch her so I could take care of the house. He was dismissive and said he actually goes to work and wants to be able to relax when he comes home. An argument breaks out, I cry, he takes her for an hour, I do what I can in that time. The cycle continues. This argument happened at least 7 times before she was 8 months old. Right after she reached 7 months, we got a vacate or pay notice. I had given him control of the finances because it was too much for me to balance a baby, maintaining the house, and working. I asked him about it and he said it was fine, he just had to wait for his paycheck. Ultimately, I found out that he was buying fast food for lunch every day at work and sometimes on the way home and eating it in the car so I wouldn't know. McDonald's was single-handedly draining our bank accounts. Our bank accounts, not just his. I didn't leave the house very often unless it was for grocery shopping so I didn't notice that he had my debit card as well. We ended up not being able to pay rent. We moved into the family room in my mom's basement. Several key events then happened that you need for context. I sold my car so we would have some money, but so stupidly put the money into my bank account instead of holding onto it. We now had only 1 car. He lost his job due to attendance issues, consistently calling out and being late, and got a new job with less hours and less pay. I got laid off because the contract I was working under in my company expired and their partners didn't want to renew it. We decided it would be easier for me to just stay home with the baby instead of finding a job outside the home. Really it would just require us to put my daughter in daycare so I could go work, but we didn't have the money and he was still spending money recklessly, so we weren't able to save up any money for it. My mom removed me as a second beneficiary on her will because she didn't trust that my husband would allow me have control of the money I would get to take care of my 2 minor siblings. That turned into a huge argument between him and I because I see why my mom chose to do that. I told him he needs to start acting like a responsible adult who has a child to provide for because I would leave him if his behavior came between me and my ability to take care of my family. He reluctantly gave me all the debit cards and said something along the lines of "It's great to know your whole family thinks I'm so terrible." We got our tax return and the money got spent on a PS5, a year-long PS Plus membership, game for the PS5, and fast food. More context events, he started being protective of his phone. Won't let me use it for a quick search, to call my phone when I can't find it, or even just for the flashlight. He started drinking frequently and wanting to go to a nearby dive bar by himself. Claiming he wanted to be alone and insisting that he doesn't want me to go. He got a boot on the car while he was at said bar. He called me at 2 a.m. asking if I had $105 in my Venmo so he could pay to get the boot off. I did not. I got mad and told him to figure it out himself. He came home and I confronted him about our financial situation. I asked for the receipt or service ticket from the boot and he said he didn't get either of those from the security people. He says he'll turn over all financially control to me. Spoiler, he doesn't follow through. Flash forward to the Wednesday after her first birthday. I want to take a shower around 2 before I go to my sister's rugby game at 5. I ask him to watch our daughter so I can go shower. He makes a big deal of having to start prep for dinner and that he was about to eat lunch. I told him I can wait, I just need to be in the shower by 3:30 so I can have time to get myself and the baby ready to go by 4:30 when we need to leave. He says okay, I think I can do that. In the future it'd be easier if you shower at night when she's sleeping. I had a physical response to that comment. To this point of her entire life I had only been doing exactly that. And at this point her molars are coming in so she's not sleeping well. Just a couple days before this conversation, I had tried to shower after she went to sleep, but she didn't stay asleep. Instead of getting up and trying to soothe her, he called me and said, "Where are you?" "I'm in the shower." "Well, she's awake." "Okay. Help her, I have to work in the morning." "Okay. I'm in the shower." "Well, just get out and come take care of her." Back to the current conversation, we start arguing about him not being available to help me with her. I told him he always finds some excuse to avoid taking care of her and he says he doesn't know how to take care of a baby. In the end, he watches her while I shower, but while watching her, packs away his PS5 and makes a point of telling me that since he's so unavailable, he just won't do anything he wants to do. That Friday is my cousin's 18th birthday. We have a tradition of taking the new adult to the strip club and I was so excited to go. I asked my husband if he would watch her while I go. I explained that she would already be in bed and that I wouldn't need the car or money because I was getting a ride and someone was going to pay my cover fee. I wasn't interested in getting dances, just hanging out and making fun of my cousin as he awkwardly gets some tea shaken in his face. He, surprisingly, agrees with no resistance. I go and vent to my aunt and female cousin about the shower argument. We stop by the bar next door while my cousin gets a private dance and I have a couple drinks. By the time I got home I was hyped up on spiced rum and F/CK that I would have left already responses. I go through his phone while he's sleeping. I found messages and messages with other women on his phone, that include flirting, exchanging nudes, and him asking if they can host because he has roommates. Some of them are escorts that work the area around the dive bar that he's been going to lately. And I had a flashback to the boot situation. I screenshotted all the messages and sent them to myself. I looked through his bank statements and Venmo transactions and see that he's been pulling all our money out in cash, so there's no way of knowing where it's going. I messaged him, yes, he was sleeping the bed next to me while I did all this, and just go off. I let out all my thoughts and feelings about our financial situation, him avoiding taking care of our daughter, the messages, and how I feel for having let him manipulate me for all this time. When he woke up to that, his first question to me was, why did you go through my phone? Needless to say, we separated. I didn't and haven't used the word divorce to him, but that may be the end result. He kept talking about how he has nowhere to go and I'm throwing him out on the street, then switching over to he loves me so much and he'll do anything to keep me in his life, and then spitefully saying he's gonna do better and succeed and you'll see. I stood my ground and made him leave. I laid out my expectations saying I won't even consider taking him back until he consistently goes to therapy, which I expect him to continue. If I take him back, he shows me he can be financially responsible for even one person, himself, and he makes an effort to maintain a relationship with our daughter, not me. It's been 2 weeks and things have been awful. I've been literally taking notes on things that are happening because I know this traumatized brain of mine is not going to remember how I've been feeling throughout the process or how I felt the day I told him to leave. It's been 2 weeks and I already have 8 pages of notes about negative interactions I've had with him, in contrast with the single paragraph of something positive that he did. Last night he told me he's scared he's going to do all this for nothing, that I won't take him back even if he tries his best. And that he just wants to come home. I want things to work out because we were happy once. Maybe I'm holding out for nothing. He has constantly made me feel like I'm the bad guy for not letting him stay with me while he makes the changes I expect of him. Now I have these thoughts in my head. Am I the bad guy? Should I have tried to let him make changes while staying in the home? I just need some outside perspective, whether it's reassuring or constructive. Update 1. Okay. Back in May I, F23, made a post about my now ex-husband's, M27, behavior that led to us separating. I mentioned feeling like I was holding out on divorce because we were happy once. But since then, things have changed. After making my post, I read every comment that came in, I consulted with my close family members and friends, and within a week I had told him I wanted to go through with divorce. He was mad, accused me of seeing someone else, incorrect, and then told all our mutual friends that I was out to get him, being a WH/re and trying to take our daughter away from him, and that was only divorcing him for looking at porn, i.e., the nudes from the escorts, see previous post. He threatened a couple times to flee to California, as he is on probation, and forget we exist. But nevertheless, I kept all the advice and support in mind, stood my ground, and started filling out the papers. My mom and I filled out the divorce papers together. She has been divorced twice and wrote her own papers both times because 1. She could not afford a lawyer, and 2. She is so incredibly smart and resourceful and just figured it out on her own. In case you couldn't tell, I love and admire my mom so much. She is familiar with the process in the state we live in and knew every document that we needed and how to fill them out or write our own should we need to modify parts of it. I filed, handed the papers to him myself, and told him he has a week to fill out his voluntary affidavit of service and return the papers to the courthouse or I would have him served by a third party. He did not follow through and neither did I. I kept putting it off until one day he called me out of the blue to tell me he had filed it and got the final divorce decree for us to fill out and file. I was a little shocked that he wasn't going to fight anything I put in the papers, but went along with it before he changed his mind. Just for reference, I did in fact do everything in my power to make the divorce fair because despite the way I was treated, I was raised better than to be spiteful, especially when children are involved. We do not have any large price property to divide aside from his car, which he had before we got married. And I gave myself majority custody because to my knowledge he was sleeping on his friend's couch while I have her crib, dresser, toys, etc. set up in my room at my mom's house. I also have a much larger support system in the area, so even if I am struggling financially, I have people I can lean on in those times of need to provide food, diapers, clothes, etc. for her, whereas he does not have that. And that's not a jab at him, just a plain fact. We met up the following day, went to the courthouse, filled and filed the final decree. I have already gotten the final decree signed by the judge via mail. It was weird seeing the sudden flip in behavior, but I welcomed it. And then he told me he has a girlfriend and they're moving in together, yada yada. And my immediate thought was this poor girl is going to get used for her stability. So they are moving in together. She is older than him, has 3 kids of her own, a stable career, and owns a house. I met her and she seems very nice and friendly. She also made some comments toward him that made me both laugh and feel like she will not tolerate his lack of effort when it comes to being a dad. Whether or not he is using her for her stability and a place to live, is not my business. My only concern is the safety and well-being of my child. I did dip my toe into the dating world, but if I'm being honest with myself and everyone else, I am definitely not ready for that right now, and I took my toe out and thoroughly dried it off. I have myself and my child to focus on right now. Now on to second story. Wife secretly consoled the woman who betrayed my best friend until his death, revealing a rift in our marriage beyond repair. My, 32 male, marriage with my wife, Mary, 31F, feels like it's unraveling at the seams. I just have so much anger, disgust and resentment inside me to the point that regular everyday living feels impossible. I want to scream all the time and it feels like I'll never be my carefree self again. Yes, I'm in therapy and have told my wife I really think we need couples/marriage counseling too. She's thinking about it. This is long, so if you can be bothered to read it, buckle in. TLDR below. My best friend, Ben, was my ride or die. We met when we were 5 and were inseparable since then. We were there for each other during all of life's big moments and turns. His place turned into my second home when my parents went through their explosive divorce when I was 11. I was there for him and mourned with him when his younger sister died of cancer when we were 15 and she was only 10. You name it, we worked through it. He was the only one to not freak out on me when I decided to drop out of college to pursue a trade. There was never a moment where either of us were worried about the other's reaction, or what they'd say or think. Ben was the type of guy people knew could make anyone feel better, regardless of the situation. He always knew what to say and what you needed, even if you didn't agree at the time. He's the best person I've ever had the privilege of meeting and the world was a better place with him in it. I unfortunately know I have to put this in here. No, Ben and I were never in love with each other like that. We were really close best friends/brothers. Ben met his wife, Sally, in his junior year of college and I knew Sally was going to be the greatest love of his life. She was so open, warm and adventurous. Like Ben, she had a smile that lit up the whole room and effortlessly made everyone feel like her best friend. Everyone, including myself, looked at them as that perfect couple everyone knows. They got married 2 years into dating. Ben always told me how excited he was to love, hold and protect her forever. All the ways he wanted to make her happy. He showed his love for her every day in his words and actions. I was so happy for him, because I thought she did the same. I helped her plan his surprise 30th birthday party, where he was reduced to tears upon seeing she spent hours making him a Mario Kart Rainbow Road themed cake. They talked about children, holidays, rescuing animals, growing their own fruits and vegetables. Sally quickly became a sister to me and became very close friends with Mary. The four of us went on countless holidays, helped each other through life's challenges, went on at least one double date a fortnight, etc. About 5 months ago, I woke up to 5 missed calls from Ben between the hours of 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. the night before and I just had a feeling something really bad had happened. I called out of work and drove straight to his place. Sally had been cheating on Ben pretty much their entire relationship. When I confronted her and asked how she could do such a thing, and why get married in the first place if you're going to cheat the entire time, she broke down and told me it was more like living a double life. Sally was/is gay. She'd known since she was a teenager but never felt like she could come out because of conservative family. She met Ben and fell in love with him, and counted on her feelings for women just somehow going away. She said she genuinely loved him as a person and life partner, but that secret part of her only grew stronger and louder over the years. She casually dated and hooked up with women, telling Ben she was hanging out with friends from her hobbies/friend groups. He only found out the night he'd called me because one of the women Sally was seeing wanted to take their relationship further and freaked out when Sally broke up with her instead. This woman showed up to their house late at night and told Ben everything. Ben was absolutely shattered. He gave everything to Sally and loved her wholeheartedly and it wasn't even with the real her. She claimed to love him, but I can't help but think she was using him. She lied to everyone, let us think she loved and adored Ben as much as he loved her. All so that she could have her cake and eat it too. I was quick to tell Ben he deserved better, but Sally apparently begged on her hands and knees. Told him she really did love him, and that she was willing to do anything to make it better. She would never talk to any women ever again, they could move somewhere new and start fresh, all that bullcrap. Ben fell into a deep depression because he realized he never knew the real Sally, but he did really love her. He agonized over what to do until he got hit by a drunk driver while out on a late night walk 2 months ago. I won't go into how it felt to lose him, I'm sure you can all imagine. It was made worse by having that bitch crying at his funeral, crying like he really was the love of his life and she was the perfect wife. It was the first time in my life I ever wanted to hit someone. I couldn't believe the audacity she had to show her face around Ben's loved ones, especially the ones that knew the truth. Mary knows how I feel about Sally and I thought she understood that Sally is dead to us. I know I can't dictate who a person should/can be friends with, but if I had a mutual friend with Mary that shattered her as much as Sally did to me, I'd cut them off with no question. I can't be friends with someone who hurts my loved ones like that. About 2 weeks ago, I came home from a work trip early and Mary was consoling Sally in our living room. I lost my shit. Asked them if they were having an affair, screamed to the point of crying. I asked Mary how she could have Sally in the living room where we have a photo of Ben hanging on the wall. Sally tried to apologize to me and here's where I was probably ta. I looked at her crying face and it was like a switch flipped in me. I immediately stopped crying and yelling and I just looked at her and said, the biggest injustice here is that you're here while Ben is in the ground. If the world were fair, I'd be able to press a button to swap your places and I'd do that in a heartbeat. You might be able to trick my wife into feeling sorry for you but you're dead to me. I see what you really are and you're trash. You tricked Ben into falling in love with you so you could pretend to be mommy and daddy's good little straight girl while fucking whoever you wanted on the side. I can't even fathom or quantify your selfishness. If I woke up tomorrow and I was you, I'd never get out of bed ever again. Mary says I was cruel, and I guess I was, but it was my truth. Apparently, Sally hasn't left her house since that confrontation. It's to the point she's lost her job because of not going into the office. The thing is, I don't feel bad about it. I think it's the least she could do and I hope she continues to not exist in my world. Mary knows I feel this way, but still goes to Sally's place to bring her meals and help clean up the place. It honestly disgusts me. We've had many explosive arguments about it, and for the first time in our marriage, I feel like we might not recover from this. We both feel like we've seen a new side to each other and we don't know if we'll be able to move past it. I write this here because we've kept this situation to ourselves. Update 1. It's been such a messed up situation and my feelings have been all over the place, so it really lifted a weight off my shoulders to see people could understand why I felt and acted the way I did. A further thank you to people who reached out to me and shared their experiences losing a best friend. I'm sorry you guys lost your best friends too. It's like a sledgehammer to the chest that won't dislodge itself. On to the update. It's only been a week but it's felt like forever. Mary couldn't handle the fights and disagreements anymore and packed her bags the day after my post. I knew this was probably for the best and didn't have it in me to argue or fight for her to stay. I just asked, "Are you going to Sally?" To which she just sighed and shook her head at me before leaving. Her eyes had nothing but exhaustion and disdain inside, and to be fair, I'm sure mine were the same. The town I live in isn't that big, so I've had a few friends reach out to me that they saw Mary at Sally's place, or that the two were seen grocery shopping together. I wake up every day to an empty house, knowing Mary is at Sally's. Looking after her. Asking if she's okay. Cooking her meals. Cleaning her house. She hasn't called or texted me at all, other than to answer my call last night with, "I'm not going to talk to you until you apologize to Sally." And hanging up when I try to explain myself. I know I'd be lying if I said I felt bad for what I said to Sally at all. There's no point in hollow apologies, and I especially don't think there's a point if there's nothing left to fix in my marriage. Mary has made it clear where her loyalties and priorities lie. I just don't understand how she can go from holding me while I cried in her arms to choosing Sally over me and ignoring me. My therapist is advising me to let myself just feel my feelings and process before making any big life choices, and she's probably right, but I've lost all respect for Mary. I never would have thought she'd betray me this way. I lied awake last night when I suddenly had the thought, what if Mary came back on her hands and knees, begging and apologizing? What if she gave me the best apology she could possibly give me for this situation? What would it change? It breaks my heart, but deep down, I feel like it wouldn't change anything. There's some things that can't be forgiven. There were a few comments and DMs asking if Mary and Sally could be having an affair, or if Mary knew about Sally before everything exploded. These questions did keep me up when all of this started going down, but now I can't bring myself to care. My life doesn't make any more, so another clusterfuck detail wouldn't really change much in the grand scheme of things. I've drafted a text that could be the last text I sent to Mary, and it goes as follows. Mary. Your priorities and loyalties in this situation have been made very clear to me. I don't know if you want to try to save our marriage and the life we've built together, but at this point, I don't think there's anything left of it to save. You abandoned me during what I can only hope is the worst time of my life. You've invalidated my grief and anger for what? The woman who's been lying to and betraying us for years? The woman who used and strung Ben along for years? I don't recognize why. Right now. It's like I went to bed in a world that made sense one night and woke up in a nightmare. I think the only way forward here is for us to get lawyers and communicate through lawyers. I will not be leaving my house. If you want to collect your things, please let relative know so I can arrange that with them. I can't believe this is happening. I never thought this would be what we've become, but choices have been made. I've been reading and redrafting this message over and over again for hours. Sometimes, it breaks my heart, and other times, it's like I'm an outsider watching myself in a bad movie. The worst thing is, I don't even know if Mary will care about it. I guess I'll let you guys know if I send it. I know this can't go forever. Update 2. I've had a few people ask in comments and DMs about what I said to Mary in our arguments to make her leave. I didn't put that in here originally because we were honestly just going in circles again and again. It was nothing short of exhausting. Mary kept on insisting that Sally is still one of her closest friends and that she's not going to abandon her because she made a mistake. To which, I'd remind her that her mistake was to make the choice again and again to lie to Ben and everyone around her, robbing Ben of the chance to find someone who would truly love him the way he deserved while sleeping with and dating women while they were married. I can't imagine how scary it must be having to hide such a big part of yourself, but not everything can or should be forgiven. She could have been honest early on and she would have had a group of friends who'd have her back and support her however they could, but instead, she chose to string Ben along. If Ben had died thinking he had the perfect marriage he thought he had, things would be different, but he didn't. He died lost and in pain as a direct result of Sally, the feeling lost and in pain. I know his death was an accident nobody could have seen coming. Mary T. NKS and claims I'm a callous fuck and I think she should have higher moral standards for her friends.